What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Pears on a Pod. It's our fourth week. We're celebrating joining Apple Podcasts this week as well, so make sure you go check all of that out. But this week, before I introduce our special guest, I may as well introduce my right-hand man, Jack Hudson. Hello, welcome aboard, mate.
Hello, mate. It's good to see you again after we enjoyed a beer. And I think a few people will be very disappointed that we're not wearing Mickey Mouse ears this week.
Yeah, they're very disappointed, and to be honest, I think we are as well.
I should invest in some.
Yeah, we were very much looking forward to that, but I think we've got something a little bit more to look forward to because today we've got a very special guest, a Magpie legend. He played 127 games, 5 BNFs in his time of 2005 to 2012, the 2005 Magarey Medallist. He also ventured over to North Melbourne and played 8 games in the 2003-2004 period. I'm talking about none other than life member of the Port Adelaide Football Club, Jeremy Clayton. Jezza, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me, boys. It's a pleasure.
Good to have you on, mate. We're looking forward to this one. Plenty of chats and stories I'm sure we're going to hear from you throughout. But first of all, we'll get straight into you. How you been? What's been happening in the life after the footy in the last 10 years? You keeping yourself busy?
Yeah, mate, I've sort of been around the traps. I only played for a couple of years after I finished. At the Magpies, I went out to Madden for a couple of years, and I actually won my first senior premiership out there. So
hey, that
was very exciting. It was a long time coming. So I really enjoyed my time out there, and then back to Port Districts, where I coached the A grade for 3 years. I did try and play a few games, which I probably shouldn't have. My temperament playing doesn't bear well for a coach as well. So trying to combine the two was challenging. So I just found that I tried to stick to coaching. But then I actually got a shift work job out at Flinders Ports, out at the container terminal, which sort of took away that coaching side of things. It was just too difficult. So now I just coach the under 13 kids. I've done that since under 8s. So I coach my eldest lad, who's now just turned 13. So still involved in the game. Actually went Thursday night, unfortunately. But yeah, I still love going to the footy. Always get down to Port Districts on a Saturday if Power aren't playing, and I'm still involved down there. So bit going on. 3 kids, happily married, and actually have my mum and sister and her 3 kids here at the moment. So
bloody hell.
It's been a bit it's been a bit hard to see in the last few years. So we're trying to make the most of it, which is nice now.
No, that's good, mate. And you said that you have a bit of a temperament. And how'd you win a Magarey with
that? They haven't worked me out at that stage. I think it took them 12 months to work me out. To be honest, I probably had a better year the second year I was over here. But the damage was done, unfortunately. So, but that's all right. We got one. Yes, we'll take that one and be happy.
So with that year, like, what do you remember about it? Because obviously your first year across, what was it like? And yeah, obviously Port Adelaide being as big as it is.
Mate, I fell in love with the place as soon as I got here, to be honest. I'd always set me mind to coming over here at some point. I'd had plenty of offers from most SANFL clubs. It was probably my manager that pushed me towards Port Adelaide. I was pretty close. A couple of years prior, I had signed at the Eagles, but ended up getting rookie listed. So a few things changed in those couple of years, and Matt Richardson and Bobby Clayton and Jack Carr come over and put on an amazing presentation with the history of the club. And, I just fell in love with the place. I've always looked for a footy home. I've never left a club purely on leaving a club to go to another club. It's always been through circumstance. So I've always been a pretty loyal person, and looking through the history, you can see how loyal a lot of those players were back in the day. So I fell in love with the place and the people, and without doubt the history and the success. So, I always remember my mum saying that I'm not a person that goes somewhere for 12 months. I'll be here for 10 years, and it's I think next year or the year after it'll be 20 years. So
Bloody hell.
for the first year, I mean, coming from the VFL, it was, look, VFL was reasonably well supported when I first started, but then the AFL started getting involved and it definitely dropped off in terms of the competition and as well as the support throughout the competition. So love my time at North Ballarat. They were a very similar club with a really rich history. Sort of the same. They started out at a country club and progressed to the VFL level. So some big similarities in terms of the clubs. But then, yeah, as soon as I got here, I've stayed for nearly 20 years. So it's obviously worked out all right for me.
Yeah, I remember you saying that in your life member speech just last year, that your mum was the one that said, "Nah, you're staying there for the rest of your life now. You're not going to go over there and come back," which was great to hear. Talk about your first year at Port Adelaide, though. Who was your coach? Was Jack Cale? Was that correct?
It was Jack, yeah. Yeah, I still, to be honest, remember the first speech of the first round against South Adelaide. And tell you what, I could nearly recite it word for word. I was just ready to jump out of my skin and get out there. And it was all about making your family proud and people that couldn't get there. And, their support from outside is, you need to take that out in the ground with you. And you just want to run through brick walls for it. And the proof is in the pudding, let's be honest. And we didn't have an amazing team that year. We had a really solid squad, but to get to third spot with the team we had, I think we probably exceeded expectations for not only us, but also him probably. So, the year we started really well. I think we were 7-0 or something around that mark. And then a few injuries and what goes with football, I suppose. We dropped off and dropped 3 or 4 and then sort of up and down for the rest of the year. But unfortunately, I got to the prelim and ruptured my spleen. But so I wasn't up. No, it was the first semi. I reckon I wasn't able to play the second semi. So a really, really enjoyable year. And look, I reckon if we had had a little bit of luck, we'd obviously knocked the Eagles off in the first semi and then got rolled by Centrals. But, they were a juggernaut at that stage and a really difficult team to defeat and really well coached. So, it was a really enjoyable first year. And then the second year probably started just as well, to be honest. I think we were 7-0 with Timmy and then dropped the next 7 as well. So, it's unfortunately I didn't have the on-field success that I would have liked in terms of premierships, but I loved every minute.
And going from Jack to Timmy would be quite a difference in sort of personalities. So how did you sort of deal with that?
Well, it's really hard to read Timmy because he's always got a smile on his face, whether he's yelling or he's happy. So he always used to say about, putting a smile on your face and laugh through everything. And he does it better than anyone else I know. You never know whether he's angry, but I'll tell you what, he can let some expletives go when he really wants to, all through gritted teeth and a smile. But when you're in his firing line. But he's obviously played under Jack for so many years, and the game was changing a little bit by that stage in terms of game plans and structures, and I think we sort of not fell behind, but I think we relied too much on Jack's philosophy was always make the worst player the best player. And I think we went down that line and we sort of pushed that barrier a little too far and the structure sort of went out the window. So once we tightened a few of them up, we were become a bit more competitive.
Did you enjoy the aspect of Timmy coaching? Would have obviously been, I reckon, quite fun. And he shot us a message earlier in the week because he knew you were coming on. And he said he wanted to simply ask you, did you enjoy his movie nights?
I enjoyed absolutely everything about Timmy. He's one of the greatest humans you'll ever meet. His movie nights included, and we had some dinners around there, and he tried to pull me in the line many a times. the on-field stuff sort of boiled over a few times in terms of me being a dickhead. So his way of dealing with that was putting his arms around me and trying to make things okay. So honestly, as you two know, there's no better bloke in the world than Timmy, and he would do absolutely anything for anybody. If you ask him to do a function for you in Noarlunga on a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, you would absolutely do it. So I haven't got enough good words to say about Timmy.
Yeah, he's
That's
a ripping fella. He's a ripping fella, and honestly, we loved having him on. And another thing he did get us to ask you was who your craziest teammate was on and off the field.
Oh, God. Well, probably off-field, James Micklejohn, I reckon.
Oh,
Yes.
Jimmy played the game really tough on and off the field. On field, I've always said, and I only got to play with him briefly, but Alfie Steve was as tough as player as I've ever played with. I played with Glenn Archer as well, but Alfie was silly tough. He just put his head where no head should go. So on field, Alfie definitely was right up there. Tommy Carr, Jimmy played as well off the field as I've been associated with, and don't worry, I was right in his back pocket most of the time. So we had some great times. And that was one of the things that I remember speaking to Jack, and he said, "You know what? We'll train every Sunday morning. I don't care whether you come straight from the nightclub in your going out kit. As long as you get there, that's all I want." And he stuck to that, and so did we, unfortunately, a lot of the time. But you know what? It was all about getting there, and that was the clear message. And you know what we always did? Because we were always a really tight group. If there was one that wasn't there, we made sure we got him before we went to training. So in that aspect, we did play hard off the field, but you know what? We got there and we manned up the next day.
and obviously Port is you either love them or you hate them. How'd you sort of go with the supporters, especially with the opposition clubs? Have any interesting moments?
Yeah, definitely had a few. I remember a trial match out at Centrals, and there was a cup of piss tipped on Ross Funk, I reckon. And in my first year, walking down the race, I loved it. I loved the banner. You couldn't say I've got a pretty thick skin, so there's not much you could say to me that would really upset me. I think the fans were great. Like, that was one of the reasons I wanted to come to the SANFL, was the support that the club's got. From afar, it was as a state league competition, it's over and above anywhere else in Australia, that's for sure, in terms of the support. And everyone still has their sample side now. Me, not so much. Oh, well, other than the Magpies is pretty much the power these days. I still support them, obviously, but it's not. I don't have that connection in terms of players I play with anymore. Or it's nice to see some kids coming through with some past players, and I definitely follow that. But the SANFL's not what it was, unfortunately, for me. I'll always support them, but I would have done anything to get to a SANFL game in the years that I was playing, and unfortunately, I don't think it's that way anymore.
Yeah.
Have you found that as well? Are you still part of the past players committee?
Yeah, I am. Yep. Yeah. So I'm really keen to, and that's probably across the board in terms of my demographic, and probably the one just before me, that none of us played in premierships, unfortunately. So it's all about engaging that demographic and trying to get back involved with the club. I know a lot of people have gone outside the state, and it's hard to keep them involved, but it's also because Port Adelaide in that era weren't associated with the Players Association. It's trying to work through medical benefits and psychology appointments and all this type of stuff that past players aren't associated with. So we're trying to work through a little bit of stuff at the moment and work out which way we go in terms of, do we want it to be a profitable thing that we can make money and give those resources, or do we just run it as we want to catch up and have a beer? So it's something new to me. I'm not one that's a board member of anything, that's for sure, but it's nice to get around the old place and throw some ideas around, which is good.
Who's probably your favourite to probably catch up with from the past?
From the past, mate, I love going to the power games. We've got our past player spot that we sit. Like I went Thursday night, and who was there? Like Michael O'Brien and Steve Williams, and who else was there? There wasn't many. Alan Gill. There was there was half a dozen. And you know what? I love catching up with those blokes because they see the game differently to our generation. They watch it and see different things. So it's always nice to bounce ideas off them blokes. But look, any past player show we have, we get the same mix of people. So we're trying to make it past Port Adelaide players feel just as comfortable as past power players. And at the moment, there's a bit of a divide in that. So I love catching up with everyone, mate. Anytime I can get out of the house and have a beer with anyone, I'm more than happy. So it's good now. My kids are at the age now they want to go to the footy all the time. So it makes me want to go, you know. So I love going to the footy and just running into random people too. It's always nice to get that recognition.
Have you found as well, like with Alberton and then at Amy Stadium too, that transition? But to go from Amy Stadium to Adelaide Oval and watching the footy, what's your experience been like with Port Adelaide?
Oh, mate, yeah, it's incredible, the atmosphere at that place. As far as I'm concerned, there's no AFL club that does it better in terms of pre-game than we do. Every club is trying to replicate what Port Adelaide's got now, and I just hope that the results in the first 4 games really don't hurt that, because we know in the past it has been an issue. I just hope that people see the bigger picture and understand that, yes, we are a results-driven industry, but at the same time, our fans are better than anyone else's. And if we stick together and keep going to the footy, things turn around really quickly. So, yeah, that's I didn't have a lot to do with the power at Footy Park. I played at Footy Park a few times in the sample. But by all reports, the stuff at Footy Park, the can man and all that kind of stuff, everyone still remembers really fondly. So, to get it back into the city is unbelievable. And what they're doing with the city and attractions at the moment is probably 10 years behind where it should be. So it's really nice to see the city really improving.
Absolutely. We just need to float back.
It's so accessible. Get off the train, walk over the footbridge, and you're at the footy, you know. So
that is really good, unless you're from the north like me and we got no train line till for 40 years.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, so infrastructure, mate. You'd think over this journey that something would have been done out there.
Thanks, state government. But we Ant and I have been running a sort of a small campaign lately. We've got to bring back the big power fist float. And you remember?
Oh, yes.
Are you behind it? Are you well on board?
I'd love to see the power.
Yes.
What was the mascot? What was he? The
Thunder Power.
Yeah. Does he still get there?
Yeah, he's still
I'm never there early enough. I get there and usually get there as the ball's bounced more often than not. So I don't get to see the mascot.
He's got a friendlier head now, which is kind of a bit freakish, and he's had it for about 10 years. I remember the old angry Thunder Power head. Which
yes.
I wonder if that's still around.
Well, it's probably at the same place that Iron Fist is.
Yes.
It might be in storage at Ethelton or something somewhere.
Maybe it's in Richo's backyard.
Well, quite possibly. Look, I'm sure he'd be open to having it back. Anything that generates a bit of income for the footy club, I'm sure Richo's all over.
Might just put an offer in to buy the aggressive Thunderhead from him.
I think you have a pretty aggressive head anyway when results aren't going our way, Huddo. So it should be right.
Yeah, very true.
You're not alone, Huddo. You're not alone. I'll tell you what, I think the apple doesn't fall far from my tree either, because we had two really disappointed boys on Thursday that wanted to leave really early. So,
I hope you didn't let them.
No, well, we stuck it out with 3/4 time. Disappointing, but I don't think I was alone on Thursday.
No,
So you missed all the goals, Jez.
I did, which is but hope this week's a new week.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I want to go back to sort of your time at North Melbourne as well. You joined the club sort of in what was probably a tumultuous period for the club with everything that had gone on. So what was it like coming into that atmosphere?
Mate, when I got there, I remember running out of the race for my first training session, and there would have been 400 cameras going off. Steve had just been appointed captain, and I got there late because I was rookie draft. So I got there a couple of weeks before Christmas after it had all sort of blown over a little bit. But after Steve got appointed captain, it was absolute craziness. Internally, to be honest, it was never spoken about.
Wow.
You know, it was, I'm sure, you know, Steve and Arch and Colby and Sab and all these blokes had conversations around it. But for me as a new bloke, obviously I was a North Melbourne supporter back then too. So I was all over everything that happened. But it wasn't something you went up and asked about either. You know, it was, to be honest, how we put together the results that we put together with the under-resourced football department, working out of transportables. We had a gym under the grandstand that was barely standing up. And for Dean Laidley to keep it all under wraps, and I think we finished 9th. So it was an incredible effort. And we didn't have a superstar team, but at the old Shinbone of spirit, it was incredible to be part of, really. Even though I wasn't getting a game, it was a really, really good spot to be, because everything inside those walls was all done together and as a group, and all the time we spent away from the place was together as well. So, look, it was an eye-opener as well, being first AFL club. I reckon North Ballarat had better facilities than North Melbourne, though. So, without doubt. It's fantastic there now. Not that I've been back there since they've done the grandstand and stuff, but what I've seen, it's really impressive.
When you got let go by North, did you have any other AFL clubs come knocking that year, or was it not just Richmond the year after?
Yeah, just a few little. I mean, it was all done through my manager. So, look, if it wasn't serious, he probably didn't tell me about it, to be honest. He was really keen for me to get over here and have a year over here and then see what happened. As it turned out, I could have gone back to Richmond. That was a done deal. I met Greg Miller, who was the CEO at the time, at the airport. He flew in, and I signed a contract to say that they would draft me. But I'd just come back from my ruptured spleen. I was telling them I was doing more training than I actually was. And David King was the one who done all the work to get me there, who was a teammate at North Melbourne. And to be honest, I didn't want to shit on him and get over there, and because it was a bit of an unknown how the spleen was going to go. It was all a bit of trial and error. So I didn't want to get over there and turn up in bad shape and shit on him. And to be honest, I'd met some fantastic people here and had great times. And I just figured that if I went back there and got cut after 12 months, then I'd be in limbo again. Do I come back? Do I stay in Melbourne? What do I do? So, the crux of it all, I ended up staying, and I don't regret it one bit. So I wouldn't be playing when the 3 premierships are won. So I haven't missed. I missed their worst era, to be honest. So it's something that sits comfortably with me. Then not going back there.
Yeah, that would have been a bit of a weird time. Just unless you don't look back with any regrets on that.
No, I don't. And I think if I had have gone there, I probably would have. That's probably the difference. I probably would have let people down, and I wouldn't have. I would have forever not forgiven myself for doing so. So, I mean, it was a different era, and but no regrets.
Jez, Huddo and I are collectors. We love to collect old Guernseys and merch and stuff like that. Have you kept anything in particular over the years that you look at and go, yeah, that's pretty cool?
I do have my. I remember Margaret bought my Magarey medal print with the jumper, and then she donated it back to me. So I've got that framed, which is special. And it was, she was a fantastic lady and always supported the club really well. I got my North Melbourne first game jumper that's framed, that's also broken and hanging by a thread, so I need to get that redone. Other than that, I've got just a lot of jumpers in terms of state games and state footy. I've got a whole array of jumpers, which I'm sure once the kids get to the age which they're not far off, wearing jumpers at the same size, they'll have a lot to pick from, which is well, they're not worth anything, but they're sentimental to me. So they're actually up in the roof, all tucked away in a suitcase, and no doubt one day they'll come out and the boys can go through them and see what they like.
I do like this question, Ant, because we found out from Timmy he's got all these medals in a shopping bag, but he doesn't know where it is. Matty White's got all this stuff thrown in the corner of his room.
Yeah.
And Jess has got his stuff on the roof.
Is in a side drawer right next to my bed. And everyone knows where it is. So when we have a party at my house, without doubt, someone's got it on. So I have misplaced it a couple of times. Well, I haven't misplaced it. People have worn it home, and then I wake up the next day and go, shit, I better find where that is. So it has gone missing a couple of times, but it is back in its safe place. I'm thinking that once the memorabilia stuff gets done at the club and all finished, then I might give it to them and they can put it in there.
Nice. So in terms of it's gone missing, what's probably the strangest place it's ended up?
It ended up on top of the fridge underneath. I've got cupboards above the fridge, and it ended up on top of the fridge at the back of the fridge. So couldn't find it for ages. But one of my mates' partners had put it there and not told anyone because she was worried that people were going to damage it or something. So we did find it after a couple of days, but she knew where it was all along, just assumed that we did as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, like it just becomes a party sort of toy. Magarey medal. Oh, that's something great just to whip out at every party. That's awesome.
Well, I don't even have a chance to get it out because it's gotten out before I even get that chance. I'm not one to wear it around my neck like a Kevin Murray or something like that, but everyone gets a lot of enjoyment out of it. So, which is great. It's good.
They should just wear it to a game and see how it goes.
Might wear it to the nightclub after.
Yeah.
Not that I've been in a nightclub for quite a few years, I don't reckon.
Off to the woolshed. There we go.
Yeah. Well, if I'm going anywhere, that's where I'm going.
Yeah. Have you had a crack at the ball in there, I take it?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, what?
Last time I went there, it was just sort of in the midst of COVID, so it was all sit down type scenario. But I'm really keen to get on it and have a crack for sure.
Yes.
I reckon Hutto will take Jezza out one night and we just go pairs on a ball.
Absolutely.
Pairs on a ball. All right, done deal. We are doing
if
that.
If your shoulders don't fall out of their sockets, I'll be all right, I reckon.
and wearing the Magarey medal. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Just don't lose it in there, for the love of God.
Yeah, well, it's not coming back if it gets lost in there. That's for sure.
No fridges to put that on top of.
Yeah, none at all.
Hutto, I reckon we go to quick fire questions.
I think so. Yes.
That's a perfect lead. So, Jezza, we'd like to find out a few things about our guests that are a little bit obscure, and the Inner Sanctum has these introduction questions for our new members, and we want you to be a part of that. So,
perfect.
Firstly, kick off your favourite TV show.
Oh, probably Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a hot favourite.
That's back to back, isn't it?
Yeah, big fan. Love it.
I reckon Walshy said that last week, didn't he, Ant?
Yeah, we've doubled up on Yellowstone, so that's good. It's a good show.
I do like the Power trilogy as well a lot on Stan as well.
Yeah,
not bad.
That's actually very popular. Karaoke song. Your favourite karaoke song to go to?
Port Adelaide footy song.
Hey!
Yes!
Yes!
Yeah.
And this better be
it's
playing
about
on
one
the
of the only songs I know word for word, so let's go with that.
Yeah.
And I'm not singing it.
Oh, that's a shame.
Get the Magarey medal out and sing it.
Yeah. We'll get it while we're on the ball.
Yeah, other than that, probably Wonderwall, I reckon.
Ooh,
Yeah.
not bad. Not bad.
That was, I think, Bolshy said that last week too. So that's
back in the day when Daniel Lees was playing in a band. I did get up and sing that quite a few times.
Nice.
Horrifically, mind you, with wrong words and all sorts of things, but that's probably a go-to.
You get that. That's what karaoke's all about.
That's right.
Screwing up the lyrics.
the Jeremy Clayton remix. Your favorite Simpsons character?
Oh, Homer.
Hey,
right. Excellent.
We got one this week.
Obsessed. I've got 800 episodes on my Foxtel that's currently recorded at the moment. So boys love The Simpsons.
They just need to get a Disney Plus subscription. That's all.
Yeah, well, they got that too. they tape it on Foxtel, and they've got them all on Disney Plus. I don't get it anyway.
Oh, they've doubled up.
Yeah,
I respect that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that. Your favorite potato chip flavor?
My potato chip. I do love a chicken chip, but it depends what brand.
ooh.
Yeah,
Smith.
I'm a bit of a Coles chicken chip, like
They are
more
good,
so
actually.
than a Thins or a Samboy or whatever it is. But yeah, probably chicken. I reckon. I'm a big Twisty or Cheezel fan. So
I have a confession. I literally just downed a packet of twisties before we came on.
yeah, best, absolute best. And I'm not
Oh.
fussy on flavour either. I like them both equally.
That's good.
Yes.
I like that. Let's get into the touchier questions. These are very opinionated, but Jezza, what is there more of in the world, doors or wheels?
Oh, I heard this on Triple J the other day, I reckon. or was it on Triple J or Triple M? Look, after I heard that discussion, I'm going to have to go wheels.
Oh, rogue!
No. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, when you're throwing matchy cars and all these types of things as well, Ferris wheels.
Oh.
Look, there's. I don't know. It's a really. I think it was. There is something on Google, isn't there?
Yeah, I
That
think
says
so.
more doors than wheels.
The problem also with the Ferris wheel as well, Jezza, there's a door in every single one of the cars.
Yeah, you got me there. The wheel is invented first. Let's be honest.
There's a
that is true.
technicality.
Yeah, I like the technicality. Good.
Yeah.
All right. The most controversial question. Go on, Ant.
All right. What is your favorite flavored shape?
Oh, you know what? I'm probably one left field. I reckon. I like the cheddar.
Oh.
That's rogue.
Yeah. No one else in my family does either, which is even better.
I don't think anyone else in the world does.
I'm in. I do love the cheese ones.
Bloody cheddar.
Other than that, it's barbecue all the way.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think I'm not gonna find an ally, Ant.
What do you have? What do you got?
I'm chicken crimpy.
Nah, my family would say chicken crimpies without a doubt.
Get them
They
on.
eat more
Get
of
them on.
than anything. I don't like them at all, unfortunately.
Oh, I thought we were on with the chicken chips. I was like, we are good here.
Nah, I'm barbecue or the cheese ones, the cheddar.
Yeah,
Fair
barbecue all the way.
Yeah.
Gee whiz.
All right, let's go into our segments. Hello, this is the time of the week where we talk a little bit about Port Adelaide ascendancy, and we start with the pair of the week. And I'm going to go with Jezza first because I'm sick of you taking the number one obvious player. Jezza, who was your Port Adelaide player of the week last week?
Oh shit. Tommy, I think he was. If we didn't have him down there repelling a lot of ball, I reckon the scoreline may have been a lot different. So I think he's been outstanding all year, really. And he doesn't always have to plant at all, which. But yeah, no, Tommy Jonas for sure.
All right, I'll go to Huddo. Who's your pair player of the week?
I'm going to go a loophole.
Oh.
So I'm actually going to say Kane Farrell. because he returned in the SANFL this week after 9 months off from a knee reco. And I think he deserves that. He played quite well in his return. So Kane Farrell
we are crying out for his leg at the moment.
I know.
Oh, completely agree.
Yeah. If we keep kicking it to the opposition more times than we kick it to ourselves, then we're not going to get any better quickly.
We're going to be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah.
Now,
that's not football.
Now it's Ant's turn. And
even Jez kicked 5 in the twos. So
yes, he was my other one.
We need key forwards at the moment. Let's be honest.
Need left footers by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
And now Ant does this every week, and it's always the same bloke. And for some reason, I have a feeling it's going to be him again. And it's Trav. Yeah, it's Trav.
I can't disagree with you, mate. He's an absolute star.
Yeah, I love him
can keep
so
up with him
much.
in the competition. No one.
No. He's so underrated still.
Just his disposal, just his finishing is the only thing that he can clean up.
Yep. Otherwise, he touches the ball so much.
Yeah.
And he's so
he does. And that's purely because of his work rate.
Mm.
Yeah. There was one play like late in the last quarter where I think Motlop kicked his last goal and Boki started with it. That's basically centre half back. He went all the way to half forward on the other side of the ground and got another touch to set up the inside 50 that got the goal. So no one else is doing that, and that's why Trav is just going to be my player of the week every week.
I get caught watching his work rate too. And when you do, you'd be bloody astounded going to the game and actually watching from point A to point B to point C to point D. I always remember when I was I grew up in a town and Matt Rosa, who played at West Coast and played with Cuzzy, and Cousins, when Matt Rosa started getting tagged, he said, every player will go up the ground with you. Some players will come back and no one will come back with you again. And that's the way he used to outwork his players. And Boki's the same. His gut running is unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Yeah. See, I'm not the only one, Hutto.
Absolutely. So Trav's been Ant's player of the week for every week so far, and I'm anticipating that next week it will be Travis Boak again.
Well, you can't argue with him.
No, I can't. that's the worst bit. You can't argue with him.
Nah.
Yep. So, see, I'm always right, Hutto, always right. Let's go into the next segment, which is our obscure Port Adelaide player. And this week, I'm going to kick it off. I don't want to match with Hutto again like we did last week.
I'm going to be spewing if you actually do this.
If I do this,
I'll walk off.
We match again, I think we're stopping after 4. Played 50 games for Port.
Okay, we're good.
Kicked 45 goals over the 1997 to 2001 period. I'm talking about Bowen Lockwood.
Yes.
He was a nice key forward. And unfortunately, we had a stack of those in the early 2000s, so I didn't get much of an opportunity. But
injury didn't help him.
Injury killed him.
He's back.
Yeah,
he's back. He had a bad back, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that was in the not an obvious choice actually. So I'm quite proud of that one. But what's yours, Hutto?
I'm a bit sad about Bowen Lockwood because he would have been a 200 game key forward, I reckon, if not more.
Yeah. He's still no good with his back. I think he's had his back fused, to be honest.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's rough.
But I think he still struggles with it.
God, that's rough.
Yeah.
Poor bloke. I'm going at the other end of the spectrum in terms of games tally. He played one game for Port Adelaide in, what year was it? 2010. He had 16 disposals in said game, 11 hit-outs, which not a bad game when you think about it. After playing for Collingwood and Carlton and getting the absolute shit kicked out of him by Satantro Halpin, it is, of course, Cameron Cloak.
Cloaky!
Cameron Cloak, one game.
I just read an article about him on Twitter, actually, that's
really?
He's injured. He's still playing. He plays for Templestowe.
Oh, shit. There we
go.
Get him on, Ant.
He's he'd be nearly 40 now. I reckon he's the same age as me, I reckon.
Yeah.
He'd be close to it.
Jeez,
now I've got to come up with someone.
37 is. Go on, Jezza. What have you got in your mind?
You know who I've got in my mind?
Go on.
I don't know. What about the bald-headed bloke from Tumby Bay who worked his ass off to play in some A-grade games? He's a really good friend of mine, and I haven't seen him for a while, so I'm going to go with Julian Waite.
Nice.
Oh, Waity.
Bummer Waite. Unfortunately, same thing. Injury probably didn't help him throughout his career, but bloody hell, when he was up and going, he was
unstoppable.
He was a tough man and a really good footballer.
That is obscure.
That is very obscure. Well done.
That is very obscure. You've matched the criteria.
But and he makes an effort to get over here for past player shows and stuff as well. So
that's what
he's a good man.
Definitely makes up for it off the field.
He certainly does. He hasn't changed either. He's still the same now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Loves a beer.
I love that.
I still get calls at 3 a.m. playing Rage and singing at the top of his lungs. So nothing's changed in that area. It's been Rage. I haven't got one for a while.
Oh my God, the Rage channel.
You know what the best thing is, Ant? Jezza has squeezed him in he played 100 games.
Yeah.
He's bang on.
He was crook as a dog too. Crook as a dog. And kicked the goal in the last quarter against Westies in his 100th game. He could hardly get out of bed, literally rolled out of bed to play and kicked the goal in his last game. So I remember that fondly, actually. It was good.
That's wicked. Love that. Nice pick. Nice pick.
From one obscure to another, but this one's our love child in a segment we like to call Better Call Sal. It's our favourite Stephen Salabeck. And Salabeck finishes it. Hello. You're kicking us off.
Oh, we've gone through a lot, haven't we? We've gone through a bit. So I'm going to go to 2006.
Okay.
Bit of a rough year. Bit shit. Yeah. Bit of shit, yeah. We're playing Hawthorn, and at that point, they were our bitch. We used to smack them around for a bit of fun. 96-point win at Footy Park.
I remember that day.
We're up by 78 points at half time. We were literally taking the PI 55. So, Stevie Sauer, 25 touches, 2 goals. That game, one of my favourite Stephen Salabeck moments.
He was very good that year.
Very nice.
Yeah, he had a very good year that year.
Jezza, did you have a favourite Stephen Salabeck moment?
Mate, off the top of my head, no. I don't remember anything specific for Sal other than, he was a really high draft pick too, wasn't he?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Look, nothing in terms of monumental moments because I don't have. I'm the worst. Don't get me wrong. I'm the worst with footy flashbacks. I do not remember certain times in certain games ever. Unlike you boys who've got photographic memories.
Yeah.
I
just
I
as Stephen Salabeck.
What I did on the football field in the last game I played. I just don't know. So
that's fair.
That's not a sledge on Sal because he's a fantastic bloke, but I don't remember any specific moments, unfortunately.
Did you play against him too often? Like in the sense?
I played against him when he was at the Bay, I reckon. Just when he played his few games back there. But no, I know him well because he's good mates with Steve Gillam, and Gilly went out with one of my girlfriends as well. So I knew him reasonably well. He's killing it back in Melbourne now. Is he real estate or something?
Yeah, real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
real estate. Yeah.
Sorry, Sal.
That's all right. That's all right. We just like to know he's a good bloke. That's all we really care about.
He's definitely a good bloke. Yeah.
We want him on.
That is our aim. By the end of the year, we will have Sal on to talk about his favourite Sal.
I did see liked on Twitter, Jace Davenport, get him on.
He's next week's guest.
Oh, he's next week.
He's a man of the people. We would love to get on there.
We're going to talk to the Eagle Killer next week. So
that's it. I do
Very
remember
excited.
that game. That's one thing I do remember.
He just rocked up against Eagles every time. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable.
No, well, that's good. Make sure you say hi to him for me.
We'll do.
Oh,
We
done.
absolutely will do.
Done deal. I don't really have a specific moment. I just got a fun fact
Oh,
for you
fun
about
fact.
Stephen. Fun fact. Did you know, boys, that the Salopek name is of Croatian heritage?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and its translation is to bake. Yeah.
Shake and bake.
Shake and bake.
Shake and bake. So yeah, that's just a little fun fact for you all to take home.
Well, there you go.
Nice. That's good, Ant. Well done.
Thanks, appreciate it. I like doing my research, so yeah.
Well, I could have done some research too. But,
No.
Little authentic.
yeah.
Before we go, Huddo, you got any last words, mate?
Not at all. We loved you as a player, Jezza. You're my favourite Magpies player growing up, so loved having you on here today. So thank you so much.
Boys, I appreciate you asking me to come on. It's a pleasure, and thanks for the support and doing great things. And when I'm driving the machine around tonight, I'll go back through the catalogue and have a listen.
Yes. We love
what
that.
a man.
So it's on
think,
Apple Podcasts now, is that right?
Apple Podcasts.
Yes.
Yep.
That's
I'm
very
a
good.
big podcast fan on driving a machine around at 3 o'clock in the morning. So you boys will keep me awake.
Beauty. Sounds good, mate. And we will take you up on the Woolshed offer. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
After
Maybe
a lot.
next home game that I don't have the kids, where I'll flick you a message and we'll make that happen.
Done deal. It is booked
Perfect.
in. Yes.
Oh, that's a bucket list item. Riding a bull with Jeremy Clayton.
Well, I'm happy to have a crack.
Oh, that's going to be great.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Jezza. It's much appreciated. And thank you, everyone, to listening to this week's episode of Pears on a Pod. All for the support. As Jezza mentioned as well, we're on Apple Podcasts, and you can also catch us on Spotify and just follow on Twitter because Huddo absolutely dominates Twitter.